Imagine this, you have one important task, maybe it's homework, maybe it's a project, maybe it's finally starting the business you've dreamed about for years. You tell yourself, I'll start in 5 minutes, 5 minutes become 30, 30 becomes 3 hours, then suddenly, it's midnight, you feel guilty, you feel stressed, and somehow, you still haven't started. Here's the scary part, what if I told you this isn't entirely your fault? Because every time you procrastinate, your brain believes it's protecting you. Most people think procrastination is caused by laziness, but that's one of the biggest myths about the human brain. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world struggle with procrastination: students, entrepreneurs, doctors, scientists, even people who genuinely love their work. So why does this happen? Why would a brain that evolved to help us survive constantly stop us from doing the very things that improve our lives? And more importantly, is there a way to beat it? Without relying on endless motivation or impossible levels of discipline, by the end of this video, you'll understand why your brain keeps saying, later, and you'll learn a simple strategy that makes starting feel surprisingly easy. Meet Alex. Alex has an important presentation due tomorrow. It's not difficult, it'll probably take about 2 hours to finish. Alex wakes up motivated. Today's the day. Coffee, laptop, desk, everything is ready. Alex opens the computer, then notices a notification. I'll just check it really quickly. 5 minutes. One funny video. Another recommendation appears. This one looks interesting. 30 minutes disappear. Alex finally closes YouTube. Okay, now I'm serious. But then, the desk suddenly feels messy. I'll clean it first. The room gets organized. Pens are arranged perfectly. The keyboard is wiped. The bookshelf is reorganized. Somehow, everything except the actual assignment gets done. Sound familiar? If you've ever done something similar, congratulations. Your brain is working exactly as it was designed to. Here's something most people never realize. Your brain has one primary goal, not success, not productivity, not getting rich. Its first priority is survival. For thousands of years, survival meant conserving energy and avoiding unnecessary risks. Imagine you're living 10,000 years ago. Food is limited. Every bit of energy matters. If your ancestors wasted energy on unnecessary activities, they might not survive. So evolution rewarded brains that preferred easier options. Whenever possible, fast forward to today, your brain still follows many of those ancient rules. The problem, modern life is completely different. Writing an essay, building a business, learning a language, editing videos, none of these give your brain an immediate reward. Instead, they require effort now, for benefits much later, and your brain doesn't like delayed rewards. It loves immediate comfort. That's why scrolling social media feels so irresistible. That's why watching just one more video feels easier than opening a textbook. Your brain isn't asking, what's best for my future? It's asking, what's easiest right now? Now let's talk about dopamine. You've probably heard people call dopamine the pleasure chemical. That's not entirely accurate. Dopamine is better described as a motivation and reward signal. It pushes you toward things your brain expects will feel rewarding. Years ago, that might have meant finding food. Today, it often means checking your phone. Every notification, every like, every short video, every new message delivers tiny bursts of reward. Your brain quickly learns, this feels good. Compare that with writing a report. For the first 30 minutes, nothing exciting happens, just effort. So when your brain compares the two choices, one offers instant gratification, the other offers delayed satisfaction. Guess which one wins most of the time? Exactly. And that's why procrastination isn't simply about avoiding work. It's about choosing the reward that's available right now over the reward that comes later. Here's something even more surprising. People don't procrastinate because they hate work. They procrastinate because they want to avoid uncomfortable emotions. Think about the last task you kept postponing. Maybe you weren't avoiding the task itself. Maybe you were avoiding the fear of failing, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of making mistakes, or simply the feeling of being overwhelmed. Your brain notices those uncomfortable emotions and immediately looks for an escape. Social media, gaming, cleaning, snacking, even doing other productive tasks can become a form of procrastination. It feels better in the moment, but only temporarily, because later, those emotions return. Only now they're joined by guilt, and stress, and regret. Suddenly, the task hasn't become easier, it's become heavier. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, so I understand why I procrastinate. I just need more motivation. Actually, that's another trap. Most people believe motivation comes before action, but in reality, it's often the opposite. Think about riding a bicycle. The hardest part isn't the ride, it's pushing the pedals for the first few seconds. Once the bike starts moving, keeping it moving becomes much easier. Your brain works the same way. The biggest obstacle isn't doing the work, it's starting the work. Scientists studying habits have found that taking even one small action can reduce mental resistance. Once you're in motion, continuing often feels much easier than it did before you began. So instead of waiting to feel motivated, start before you're ready, because action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. Imagine someone tells you, go write a 20-page report. Your brain immediately reacts, that's too much, stress, pressure, avoidance. Now imagine they say, open the document and write one sentence. That feels different, much easier. This simple shift changes everything. Instead of focusing on the entire mountain, focus on the very first step, not finish the project. Instead, open the laptop, not study for 3 hours. Instead, read one page, not exercise. For an hour, instead, put on your running shoes. Small actions feel almost impossible to fail, and once you've started, your brain often decides to keep going. It's like pushing a heavy flywheel. The first push is difficult, the next becomes easier. Eventually, the wheel keeps spinning with much less effort. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They treat their brain like an enemy. Why am I so lazy? What's wrong with me? Why can't I just focus? But your brain isn't trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect you from discomfort. The problem is that it's using an ancient survival strategy in a modern world. Instead of fighting it, work with it. Make good choices easier. Make distractions harder. For example, leave your phone in another room while you work. Prepare your workspace the night before. Break large goals into tiny actions. Use a timer to work for just a short period before taking a break. These aren't magic tricks. They're ways of reducing the friction that makes starting feel difficult. You don't need perfect discipline. You need a system that makes the right choice the easiest choice. Imagine placing a marshmallow in front of a child. You tell them, you can eat this now. Or wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows instead. Some children eat it immediately, others wait. The interesting part isn't just who waited, it's how they waited. Many successful children didn't stare at the marshmallow, relying on willpower. They distracted themselves. They looked away, they sang, they imagined something else. In other words, they changed their environment instead of depending only on self-control. Adults aren't that different. If your phone sits beside you while you work, you're constantly asking your brain to resist temptation. Why fight that battle hundreds of times a day? Make the temptation less visible. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. Let's go back to Alex. The presentation is due tomorrow morning. It's now 10:30 p.m. Panic sets in. Alex finally starts working. The assignment gets finished, but only after hours of stress, rushed decisions, and unnecessary pressure. The next day, Alex says something we've all heard before. I work better under pressure. But is that really true? Or did the pressure simply become greater than the discomfort of starting? Imagine what Alex could have created with 2 calm hours. Instead of 2 stressful ones. Procrastination doesn't just steal your time, it steals the quality of your work, it steals your peace of mind, and over months and years, it quietly steals opportunities, not because you weren't talented, but because you kept waiting for the perfect moment. Here's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves: I'll start when I feel ready. The problem, feeling ready is unpredictable. If every successful person waited until they felt perfectly confident, many books would never be written, businesses would never be built, and inventions would never exist. Progress doesn't come from perfect timing, it comes from imperfect action taken consistently. You don't have to know every step. You only need the courage to take the next one. Imagine meeting yourself 5 years from now. There are 2 versions. One version thanks you, because today, you finally started, not perfectly, not brilliantly, just started. The other version asks one painful question: why did you keep waiting? That difference isn't created by talent, or luck, or intelligence. It's created by hundreds of small decisions that seem insignificant in the moment. Every time you choose action over delay, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. So, why does your brain love procrastination? Because it prefers immediate comfort over future rewards. Because it wants to protect you from discomfort. Because it's running ancient survival software in a modern world. But now you know its secret. The next time your brain whispers, later, don't argue with it. Don't wait for motivation. Don't promise yourself you'll feel different tomorrow. Just make the task smaller. Take the first step. Open the document. Write 1 sentence. Read 1 page. Put on your shoes. Tiny actions may seem insignificant, but they're often the beginning of extraordinary change. Remember, you don't beat procrastination by becoming a different person. You beat it by proving to your brain that starting isn't something to fear. Because once you begin, the hardest part is already behind you, and that first small step might be the one that changes your life.